The Pittsburgh Steelers season is on the brink after a 19-17 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night, marking their fourth consecutive defeat, despite an early strong performance that saw them start the season 10-3. The Steelers' late-season collapse has left them struggling as they enter the playoffs. The loss to the Bengals was another example of an offense that struggled to get going, with a slow start that saw Cincinnati's Joe Burrow effortlessly lead a touchdown drive. Pittsburgh's offense, meanwhile, couldn't capitalize, managing only 75 yards by halftime, though the Steelers had opportunities late to pull off a win, including a potential game-winning drive that stalled near midfield. A dropped pass by Pat Freiermuth on fourth down sealed their fate. The Steelers' offense has been inept during this slide, raising questions about their ability to compete with playoff-caliber teams. For the Bengals, 9-8. The win kept their slim playoff hopes alive. The Bengals still need help to make the postseason, relying on the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets to defeat the Miami Dolphins. Despite the win, the Bengals almost let the game slip away after a turnover that gave Pittsburgh one last chance. But Cincinnati's defense, led by Trey Hendrickson's crucial sack, held on for the victory. The Bengals have now won 5 straight games, but the team's hopes for the playoffs are entirely out of their control. If they don't make the playoffs, questions will be raised about how a team with MVP-caliber quarterback Joe Burrow and standout receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins could miss the postseason. Looking ahead, the Steelers, 10-7, will face a tough road to the playoffs, with the outcome of the Chargers-Raiders game potentially determining their next opponent. If Los Angeles wins, Pittsburgh faces a matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. If the Chargers lose, the Steelers travel to Houston to face the Texans. For Pittsburgh, it may not matter who they face in the postseason if their recent struggles persist. Meanwhile, the Bengals are still holding out hope, but their fate rests on the outcome of Sunday's games. Ravens clinch AFC North with win over Browns. Did Lamar Jackson do enough to clinch MVP? The Baltimore Ravens clinched the AFC North title with a 35-10 win over the Cleveland Browns on Saturday. But the game was a mixed bag for MVP candidate Lamar Jackson. While the Ravens did enough to secure the victory, Jackson's performance left fans wondering if he did enough to solidify his MVP case. Jackson became the first player in NFL history to accumulate 4.000 passing yards and 800 rushing yards in a season. He also became the first quarterback with 40-plus passing touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions in a season. An impressive feat. However, in the game against the Browns, he completed only half of his passes, thrown for 217 yards with 2 touchdowns. While not a bad performance, it didn't leave a lasting impression to sway voters who may have been leaning toward Buffalo Bills QB Josh Allen for MVP. Despite his solid numbers, Jackson had a chance to make a big statement, but it seemed like the Ravens were just good enough to beat the undermanned Browns, who were playing with backups Bailey Zappe and Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback. With the win, the Ravens secured the number 3 seed in the AFC playoffs and will face the number 6 seed, which will be either the Steelers or Los Angeles Chargers. Jackson's performance on Saturday likely closed the book on the MVP race. With Allen only expected to play briefly, Jackson's main competition has already made their case. But even without the MVP, the Ravens' focus will likely shift toward a deep playoff run, and winning the AFC North was an important step in that direction. The Browns, struggling with injuries, did their best but couldn't muster enough to make the game competitive. A pick-six by rookie cornerback Nate Wiggins gave the Ravens an early lead, and they never looked back, leading 14-0 at halftime. The Ravens' offense continued to move the ball, with tight end Mark Andrews catching a touchdown pass and running back Derrick Henry getting into the action with 2 touchdowns in the second half. Injuries, however, were a concern for the Ravens. Pro Bowl receiver Zay Flowers left the game early in the first quarter after injuring his knee. But the Ravens still had enough firepower to cruise to victory. Henry finished the game with 138 yards, and Andrews caught his 11th touchdown of the season. The Ravens' defense, while not facing a competent quarterback, continued its late-season resurgence by stifling Cleveland's offense. While it wasn't a perfect performance, the Ravens did what they needed to do to clinch the division. With Jackson and a strong supporting cast, including Henry and Andrews, the Ravens are a team to watch as they head into the playoffs. Whether Jackson wins MVP or not, Baltimore's Super Bowl aspirations are alive and well. But with the playoffs ahead, the Ravens will need to bring their A game if they want to make a deep run. In the world of the NFL, rookie dinners are a rite of passage, but the Seattle Seahawks decided to spice up this tradition with a hilarious twist on Thursday, pranking rookie Byron Murphy II in a way he won't soon forget. Now, for those not familiar, rookie dinners are notorious for being an expensive affair. Typically, the rookie, or rookies, end up footing the bill for an extravagant dinner with the team, sometimes racking up a total so high it could make anyone sweat. We're talking the finest cuts of steak, lobster tails, fancy wines, and high-end spirits. The whole thing is a financial hazing to test a rookie's fortitude and, of course, to have a little fun. But the Seahawks veterans decided to take it up a notch. Instead of just piling on the extravagant meal, they pranked Murphy with a fake receipt that showed a jaw-dropping total of $155.788.77. Murphy's reaction? Priceless. Picture the moment. His eyes widened. His jaw nearly hit the floor. And you can almost hear the collective gasp from his teammates. That's some serious shock value right there. But here's the kicker. While the fake receipt had Murphy sweating bullets, the real bill came in at a still hefty, but far less heart attack-inducing, $38.015.82. It's still a pretty insane amount of money, though not quite as bad as the phantom $155,000. Among the high-end items on the bill? A few pours of ultra-rare Deuce 1969 cognac for $9.600. 23 pours of Louis XIII cognac adding another $8.050. Two $750 A5 Wagyu steaks. And a couple of $115 orders of caviar. Oh, and don't forget Murphy's $4 glass of Sprite, which might have been a subtle nod to him not fully embracing the fancy vibe of the dinner. The best part? Rookie Murphy, with his $16 million contract, will be just fine. He's definitely not losing sleep over this. In fact, $38,000 isn't an outrageous rookie dinner bill by NFL standards. And many players are well aware of what they're getting into, except maybe Garrett Wilson. However, the whole thing is a fun tradition of financial hazing, even if it makes some rookies squirm. Some teams, like the 49ers a few years ago, have been known to pull similar pranks with absurd fake totals, only to charge their rookies a fraction of it in the end. It's all in good fun. But for Murphy, this dinner is something he's definitely going to remember for the rest of his career, just like every other rookie who's survived the dinner ritual. Vikings spent nearly $2 million on tickets at Detroit's Ford Field for Week 18 clash versus Lions, in preparation for their crucial Week 18 game against the Detroit Lions. The Minnesota Vikings made an extraordinary move to secure a strong fan presence at Ford Field, with both teams entering the matchup with 14-2 records and a number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs up for grabs. The Vikings spent nearly $2 million on tickets for the game. This included purchasing around 1.900 seats on the secondary market at an average price of about $1 per ticket. The Vikings then offered these tickets to their season ticket holders at a significantly reduced price, some as low as $200, to ensure that their fans could attend the high-stakes game. Many of these tickets were located behind the visiting team's bench area, potentially giving the Vikings supporters a louder presence to impact the game. The team emphasized that the tickets were intended to be used by Vikings fans and not positioned for resale. But some buyers resold them on the secondary market for higher prices, attracting the attention of the Lions. Despite the reselling issues, the NFL determined that the Vikings' actions didn't violate any league rules. The Vikings defended the move, stating their intention was to offer fans, staff, and families a better chance to attend the game, particularly given its importance for the franchise. Minnesota's spokesperson, Jeff Anderson, explained that the initiative aimed to give stakeholders an opportunity to attend, given the game's uniqueness. Although Ford Field has a capacity of 65,000, with the majority of seats expected to be filled with Lions fans, the Vikings' investment shows their commitment to having a notable presence in a critical game. This also marked a significant effort to support their fans in a road game with immense playoff implications. Even if the 2,000 Vikings supporters may not make a substantial impact in a stadium largely filled with Lions faithful. The Vikings' initiative follows a narrow loss to the Lions earlier in the season. A 31-29 defeat at US Bank Stadium in Week 7. Baltimore Ravens nose tackle Michael Pierce became the unlikely star of Saturday's 35-10 win over the Cleveland Browns with a stunning interception that left both his teammates and coaches in disbelief. At 355 pounds, Pierce is the heaviest player to record an interception in the NFL since at least 2000. And his unexpected play immediately became the highlight of the game. With the Ravens up big and the game winding down, Pierce dropped back into coverage on second and 6, faking a rush, when Cleveland's quarterback, Bailey Zappe, threw a pass intended for running back Jacob Peabody. Pierce was in the perfect position to jump the route and snare the ball. Despite having plenty of open field ahead of him, Pierce wisely chose to slide to the ground, securing the interception and confirming the turnover. The play was so remarkable that it caused a frenzy on the field, with nearly the entire Ravens team rushing to congratulate Pierce. Ravens coaches, including offensive coordinator Todd Monken, were left in stunned disbelief, while head coach John Harbaugh went so far as to call it the most crazy, amazing play in NFL history. Pierce's performance earned him a game ball, and he admitted afterward that it was the first interception of his entire football career. In an interview after the game, Pierce jokingly shared his thought process during the play. "Did I want to try for 6? So there's a long history of turning big guy interceptions and fumbles and all that stuff into memes. So at the risk of ruining a career play like that for myself, it's time to go home." The bus was out of gas. Pierce also expressed his surprise at the situation. "Oh, S-word. Oh my God. He really threw this football." Pierce, who began his NFL career with the Ravens as an undrafted free agent out of Samford, has been a key contributor to the defense as a run stopper. After a stint with the Minnesota Vikings, he returned to Baltimore in 2022. Despite struggling with injuries throughout his career, Pierce's interception became the defining moment of the game, proving that even big men in the trenches can make plays in the spotlight. Nose tackles like Pierce often go unnoticed in terms of flashy stats, with his career total of 9.5 sacks illustrating his unglamorous but vital role on the defense. But Saturday's interception provided a rare moment of glory for the big man and is sure to be remembered as one of the most unexpected and memorable plays of the season.